Hi friends, it's Lauren Taylor. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. I'm really excited because it's my birthday, but I'm also excited that I am doing a collaboration hop with my crafty friend Sierra from Sierra T Designs because it is also her birthday today. We are literal birthday twins, same year and everything. So I was really excited when she reached out earlier this year to see if I wanted to do a collaboration with her. And I was like, yes, of course, because I love, love, love her designs. Now, Sierra is far more daring in the mixed media than I am. If you haven't checked out her channel yet, you need to open it in a new tab right now so you can check out her amazing, amazing cards and other projects. I will have her, of course, linked in my title as well as in my description so you can find her, right now or after this video. But we're going to be designing birthday cards for each other. So when I think of Sierra, I think of purple. If you are a fan of her work, you know that she loves purple. And I think of mixed media. And she does a lot of beautiful things with die cuts, especially like floral cards and butterflies. So I wanted to incorporate purple, mixed media, as much as I'm comfortable with, and flowers. So of course I'm going to be using Pinkfresh Studio. They have some of the best florals out there. So I'm starting with using a Breezy Blossoms press plate, but I'm hot foiling it with gold foil. So I have that going on off camera on my Glimmer hot foil machine. And I'm just doing it on some white cardstock because I'm going to use the coordinating Breezy Blossoms layering stencil. And I'm also going to do some mixed media on some watercolor cardstock. So my gold foiling is done. It looks so pretty. These flowers are absolutely like just in the gold. It's so stunning. I love it so much. I'm going to move on to my mixed media background now because I need a little time for it to dry. So I grabbed some purples that I thought coordinated really well from my Distress Oxides. I'm using Milled Lavender, Dusty Concord, and Villainous Potion. So I'm going to start with adding some of this Milled Lavender first. It is the lightest, but I was going to use it to just give me a good base. So I am doing my ink squishing technique, and I was using the acetate to at least get some color in some areas where I wanted it first, and then squishing it right onto the ink once I had kind of an idea of, or at least I had the ink where I wanted it, and then the rest I just put it on there. It doesn't really matter where it's going. I don't have any focused areas for the ink. Now in between each layer of ink, I'm going to clean up my desk, and I'm going to use my heat gun on the lowest setting to dry the paper. So I'm going to do that in between each layer. I'm going to skip showing it on camera, but wanted to explain what I was doing. I'm moving on to Dusty Concord. It is a little bit more of a pinky purple, which I like, so it's going to just add on top of that milled lavender. So I'm starting with my acetates again to make sure that I get ink where I want it, and then I just squished it right on. Finally, I'm using Villainous Potion, which is more of a bluey purple. So I'm getting all the purples on here. And again, using the acetate to get a focus squish, and then I'll go ahead and just squish it right onto the cardstock once I know I have color exactly where I want it. Once I have that done, I'm going to now bring in my little foam, the domed foam applicators, and my little tool here, ink blending tool. These are from scrapbook.com. Ranger Ink also sells something similar. And I'm adding milled lavender anywhere where there was still white. And then I'm adding in some darker areas using Dusty Concord. And finally, I take Villainous Potion and put it around all four edges. Now, I did cut this panel to be larger than A2, so I'm going to trim it down. So the harsh lines on the edge won't be seen once I trim it down. I also use my ink sprayer to add some texture to the ink, making sure I get some water droplets and activate that oxide to get some fun mixed media look. Lastly, I'm going to add some Wilted Violet Distress Spritz. I'm just pulling it out and splattering it on rather than spraying it on, and making sure I get it all over that background. You can dry this with your heat gun, so I'm going to put it on my lowest setting and just give it a little dry for a little bit, and then I'll set it aside to finish drying. Now that that's done, we're going to bring back in that hot foiled floral background. Again, this is the Pinkfresh Studio Breezy Blossoms, and I'm going to do the coordinating layering stencils. So I have my waffle flower grip mat and stencil tools, and I'm using distress inks, and I have those in the little cubes, so I have my little cube holder as well. And I'm going to start with stencil 1. So I think the hardest part about these stencils is just getting it lined up. So getting that first one lined up. And my paper is also slightly larger than A2, so just really pressing on the edges of those stencil to stick to the grip mat so it doesn't go anywhere. And I'm going to use the exact same purples that I did for my background, this time in the Distress ink. So I'm starting with milled lavender, and I'm going to cover all of these flowers that are showing through the stencil. And then I'm going to bring in Dusty Concord and just add a little bit of shadow to create two tones on these florals. So I'll show you this whole step, and then the rest of the stencils I'm just going to jump through. So I have the first one, the second stencil I'm using Villainous Potion. You can see how that looks in just a moment here. And I'm going to repeat that process for the other flowers. Next, for the last two stencils, these are more of the greenery, so I'm going to be using weathered wood, and yes, weathered wood is my first color, and ice spruce is kind of the second tone through the second stencil, so the leaves have two tones as well. And here's how the final looks from the stencil. I love a good stencil reveal. These flowers are so pretty, and it's so easy to color them with the stencils. I am in love with the like coordinating layering stencil trend for stamps right now. Next, I'm going to use the die to die cut out all of these flowers. It's one big giant die, so I'm going to use some repositionable or low tack tape to make sure that die stays in place while I run it through my die cutting machine. So I'm working to get it lined up nice and perfectly, and then I'm using my tape, trying to avoid any overlap with the foil. I don't want my tape to accidentally lift up some of that beautiful foil. The die cutting was quick and easy with it being just one giant die, but I did die cut not only my foiled flowers, but I did some just kind of scrap white cardstock as well as this piece of vellum, and I'm going to use that vellum negative piece to help me with placement. So I'm going to trim off my background now that it's dry, and I'm trimming off 1/4 inch total from the horizontal and the vertical. So I did about 1/8 of an inch off each side to keep that design that, or like my watercolor background center to what I created. And I'm going to apply all of these flowers onto the background. So I'm going to add the vellum, and there's no reason that I did vellum for my die cuts other than I wanted the negative piece in vellum, but I wasn't about to let all these little vellum pieces go to waste, so they're going to be my layering to create some dimension on this card. So again, I have the foiled flower, the layer of vellum, and then that extra scrap white cardstock. So it's a little thicker, giving it some dimension without having to apply foam adhesive behind all of these pieces. So I lined up my vellum, which is also A2 in size, and my background, and I'm going to add my liquid adhesive to the back of my first flower. And I'm going to find the design on the or I keep calling it acetate in my head, on the vellum, and I'm going to glue down this flower. Now I have no desire for it to be absolutely perfect and lined up with the vellum. I just want to know where the placement is approximately, because I'm going to glue all of these different elements right back pretty much in the same spot where they were in the plate and die and everything. So I just want to make sure my spacing is even and I know it will all fit on this A2 card. So I'm going to use that vellum piece with placement. And the reason why I did vellum too is that it's very pliable, so I can kind of pull it back up while I'm gluing it down. And I went ahead and did the rest off camera. This video would have been about 5 hours long if I did all the rest on camera. But I did miss a couple placements. There's a few of those little tiny ones that aren't in the right spot, but that's okay. I just moved them to, well, one I did by accident, and the other one I made sure everything looked kind of filled in. But for the most part, I followed the die and stamp and plate and everything to make sure all those flowers fit on that A2 size. I use my corner chomper. I use the 1/4 inch rounder and I chomped all 4 of those corners, and I have my A2 card base, and I'm going to repeat that on the card base. I just like that it gives a little bit of framing to the card and adds just a little subtle touch instead of it being just a regular A2 card. I'm going to go ahead and use my super sturdy Scotch tape to adhere this card front to my card base, and that will complete my background and honestly the majority of the card. I'm going to add a sentiment, and I first stamped Best Wishes in the same kind of Villainous Potion Distress ink, and I liked it, but I just felt like it didn't pop up enough off the card. I was just trying to bring in more purple, but I decided to try gold embossing just to see how it would turn out, and I like it so much more. So I'm stamping on some white cardstock with my embossing ink, and I'm going to use some detail gold to add the embossing powder onto my card. Once it's covered with enough powder, I'm going to go ahead and use my heat gun to melt that embossing powder down. I did use an anti-static powder before I stamped just to help make sure the embossing powder only stuck to the cardstock where I wanted it to, which would be the inked sentiment. Now I'm going to glue this with the purple. I wasn't going to let that purple one go to waste. I needed the dimension anyway. So I'm gluing the sentiments together, and then I'll go ahead and glue that to the card. Now it's not as thick as my flowers, of course, but this is going to sit on top of my flowers, so the dimension is already there on my card. I'm going to use my grid to help me get this centered and placed where I want it. So I want it centered a little bit higher than centered when it comes to the vertical part of the card. Straight horizontal and centered, but a little bit higher vertical. Once that's in place, I'm going to grab some gems. These are clear with gold dust gems from Pinkfresh Studio, and I'm going to just add them. There's I think 2 different sizes, so I'm just going to add them randomly on my card using my pickup tool here, mixing in between the large and the small, just filling in some of those spaces in between the flowers. It takes me a little while, so I'm just going to jump through and show you that I also use the pickup tool to pick up the gem once I know where it's going to go, and then I apply some glue, and then I place the gem on top of that glue. That will finish off my card. I think it turned out so pretty. I can't wait to mail it to her. It's going to be a surprise as well. She won't know what it looks like until she sees this video. But Sierra, happy birthday. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful year, and that you are excited to receive this card in the mail. Thank you again for wanting to do this with me, to my fabulous birthday twin, and thank you to everyone for watching. And I know you guys are going to say happy birthday to me in the comments, so thank you in advance for your love and support. I really appreciate every single one of you. It just means the world to me to read comments from you all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!